The diplomatic hall of the Apex Empire gleamed with crystalline walls that reflected the amber light of three suns. Elsa stood among the human delegation, her scarred hands clasped behind her back, hidden from view. The burns that marked her fingers and palms were old now, silvered with time, but they still drew stares and, worse, ridicule. General Vexthor, the towering Apex commander, stood at the center of the chamber. His species was legendary across the galaxy. 7 feet of scaled muscle, eyes like molten gold, claws that could rend steel. The Apex had never lost a war. They were warriors born, bred, and perfected over millennia of genetic refinement. Humans. Vexthor's voice rumbled like distant thunder. You come seeking alliance. But what can you offer warriors such as us? His gaze swept over the delegation with barely concealed disdain. You are soft, weak. Your lifespans are short, your body's fragile. Leonardo, the human ambassador, stepped forward. His diplomatic training kept his face neutral, but Elsa could see the tension in his shoulders. We offer ingenuity, General, adaptability, determination. Vexthor laughed, a sound like grinding stone. Pretty words. But words don't win battles. His eyes suddenly fixed on Elsa as she shifted her stance. You there? Show your hands, Elsa's heart skipped. Slowly she brought her hands forward. The scars were impossible to hide, twisted tissue that spoke of terrible heat, of flesh that had melted and healed imperfectly. The general's lip curled. Defective, he pronounced. In Apex society, such weakness would see you removed from the breeding pool. How did you acquire such deformities? A cooking accident, perhaps? His officers chuckled, a sound like rocks tumbling down a cliff. Elsa's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Leonardo moved as if to intervene, but she gave him the smallest shake of her head. No answer? Vexthor pressed. Typical human frailty. You wear your shame openly. Before anyone could respond, a small voice echoed through the chamber. Father, stop! A young Apex emerged from behind the general's guards. She was perhaps the equivalent of 8 in human years. Her scales still soft and bright, her claws not yet fully hardened. The cub walked directly toward Elsa, golden eyes wide with something that looked like recognition. Kira, return to your place, Vexthor commanded, his voice sharp, but the cub ignored him, stopping directly before Elsa. She stared at the scarred hands, then looked up at the human woman's face. Were you forged in battle too? The young Apex asked, her voice filled with awe rather than mockery. Elsa blinked, taken aback. She glanced at Leonardo, who gave her an encouraging nod. Then she knelt, bringing herself to eye level with the cub. In a way, Elsa said softly. 5 years ago, my ship, a mining vessel, suffered a catastrophic engine failure. The reactor core was going to breach. If it did, 347 people would die. The chamber had gone silent. Even Vexthor listened, though his expression remained stern. The emergency systems failed, Elsa continued. Someone needed to manually override the coolant release, but the access panel was in the reactor chamber itself. The heat was immense. She looked down at her hands. The first safety glove melted in seconds. So did the second. But I couldn't stop. 347 lives depended on turning that valve. Kira's eyes widened. It hurt? More than anything I'd ever felt, Elsa admitted. But pain is temporary. Death is permanent. So I kept turning the valve. Even as my skin burned, even as I could smell my own flesh cooking. 27 seconds, that's how long it took. The longest 27 seconds of my life. Did everyone survive? The cub asked. Elsa smiled. Every single one. 346 made it to the escape pods. I was the last one off the ship. Kira reached out, her small clawed hand hovering over Elsa's scarred palm. May I? When Elsa nodded, the young Apex gently traced the lines of scar tissue. We Apex believe that scars are stories written on the body. Each one tells of survival, of battles won. Your hands... She looked up, her golden eyes shining. Your hands tell a story of victory over impossible odds, of sacrifice for your pack. These are the marks of a true warrior. Vexthor's expression had changed. The mockery was gone, replaced by something else. Calculation, perhaps, or the beginning of respect. The cub speaks truth, an elderly Apex advisor said, stepping forward from the shadows. Her scales were dulled with age, marked with countless scars of her own. The Apex way values strength, yes, but there are many forms of strength. To endure agony for others, this is strength of spirit. To sacrifice oneself for the pack, this is the highest honor. Leonardo seized the moment. Humanity may not have the natural advantages of the apex, he said. We're not born with claws or armored scales. But we have something else. The will to endure, to adapt, to survive against all odds. We turn our weaknesses into strengths. We forge ourselves in the fires of adversity. Vexthor was quiet for a long moment. Then he approached Elsa, towering over her even as she stood. Slowly, deliberately, he extended his massive clawed hand. I judged prematurely, he said, his voice carrying none of its earlier mockery. Among the apex we have a saying, the blade that bends is stronger than the blade that breaks. I believed humans were the blade that breaks. Perhaps I was wrong. Elsa took his hand, her scarred palm against his scaled one. His grip was gentle, careful not to crush. Your species is young, Vexthor continued. Fragile in body, perhaps. But you have something we apex lost long ago in our genetic perfection. The ability to be broken and choose to continue anyway. That is not weakness. That is the rarest strength of all. Kira beamed, bouncing on her feet. Does this mean we're allies now, Father? The general's stern expression softened as he looked at his daughter, then back at the human delegation. It means we will talk. Truly talk. Not as superior to inferior, but as warriors to warriors. Any species that produces individuals like this one, he gestured to Elsa, is worth knowing. As the negotiations began in earnest, Elsa caught Leonardo's eye. He smiled, relief and pride evident on his face. Sometimes, she thought, the greatest victories weren't won with weapons or words, but with simple truth. Humanity's strength had never been in physical perfection. It was in the stubborn refusal to give up, the choice to endure, and the willingness to sacrifice for others. Her hands would always bear the scars. But perhaps she realized that was exactly as it should be. After all, the best stories were written not on pristine pages, but on skin that had been tested by fire.